KPM.
Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. So now you are watching Sukses STPM 2021 Pecutan on Didik TV KPM. My name is Hashim, and if I could share a bit of my personal experience as an STPM candidate many years ago, being able to work hard and score in your STPM exams gave me such gratifying feeling even up to today, and we hope for you to be able to share that experience and feeling as well. Speaking of which, what are we going to learn today? It's definitely one of the favorite subjects that I would always want to study is physics with focus on paper 3. And you'll be curious, who would be teaching physics with us today? Let's take a look at the teacher's profile. So yes, we have Mr. Mohamad Hussaini Hashim from College Tingkatan 6 Petaling Jaya today with us to be teaching physics paper 3. Assalamualaikum. Hello, Cikgu.
Yeah, Waalaikumsalam.
It's so nice to have you today. And you mentioned that you have 16 years of experience teaching.
Yes.
Right. If you could share with us a bit and introduce yourself to the students at home.
Hi, candidates. My name is Mohamad Hussaini. I'm physics teacher from College Tingkatan 6 Petaling Jaya. I've been teaching physics for 16 years, and my first school actually is in SMK Perempuan Jalan Ipoh. So that is where I start teaching physics. Okay, and then I moved to College Tingkatan 6 Petaling Jaya in 2016. Until now.
In 2016, yeah, right.
Yeah.
And I will address him as Cikgu Hussaini. Cikgu, I'm sure you have a lot to share with us with your 16 years of experience teaching physics. Shall we start our lesson?
Inshallah. Okay, good.
Right.
Okay, hi candidates. So I'm here to share some tips that may help you in improving your answering technique in physics paper STPM. So we will focus on physics 3. So let's begin with the format of the paper. So physics 3 divided into 3 sections: section A, section B, and section C. Section A consists of 15 multiple choice questions which combine quantitative and also qualitative, which carried 15 marks. Section B is a structured question. There are 2 structured questions where candidates are compulsory to answer both questions, and it also carried 15 marks. Section C consists of 3 essay questions where candidates can choose only 2 questions to be answered, and it carries 30 marks altogether. Section A, I would like to recommend you for section A to spend about 20 minutes, 20 minutes in section B, and another 40 minutes in section C. There are 10 minutes left. There are the remainder of 10 minutes for you to recheck your answer.
In total, would that mean that we have, how long is the total examination time?
So this paper, the total time for this paper is 1 hour and 30 minutes. So if you look here, you already have 18 minutes. So there is 10 minutes remains for you to recheck your answer.
Yes, I would agree with that. I think that's very key. As Cikgu Hussaini has mentioned, there are 3 different sections with multiple choice questions and structured questions as well as essay questions. So there are 3 essay questions which we would need to select only 2 out of the 3.
Exactly, yes.
Yes, and each question would carry 15 marks, I would assume.
Yes,
This is a total
correct.
of 30 marks.
Yeah, correct.
Right, and how that would be a so much longer question, of course, versus structured questions where there's only half the time that we spend for section B against
Yes,
section
exactly.
C.
Yes, okay. Both section B and section C, actually, they are mostly it's about comprehensive and a bit, calculation questions, but they differentiate it with, how long the problems is asked in the sections.
Right. How about for section C, Cikgu? Would it be more, what kind of questions do we foresee that it's going to be like? Would it be more contextual or solutions providing?
Usually it is the combinations of the comprehensions and also the qualitative question. That means we need some determinations and calculations questions.
Right, so there are three sections, section A, B, and C, and Cikgu Hussaini has shared with us the different time that you should spend on each section as well as the different marks. So keep that in mind because we have so much more to learn for Physics Paper 3. We're going to take a short break, so stay tuned with us on Sukses STPM 2021 Pecutan on Didik TV KPM.
Didik TV KPM. Didik TV KPM.
We are back on Sukses STPM 2021 Pecutan on Didik TV KPM, and today we're learning a very important and one of my favorite subjects definitely is physics, giving a focus on paper 3. And with me is Cikgu Hussaini from College Tingkatan 6 Petaling Jaya. And Cikgu Hussaini, I believe now we're going to give focus on quantitative questions.
Yes.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Right, let's start, Cikgu.
Okay. Before I continue, so let's look at the report on candidates' work that is produced by MPM based on the Physics 3 STPM in 2020. So if we look at the quantitative questions, the finding shows that many students that could do the calculations with well organized, and also they are presented systematically. And it is reported that the answers written by the candidates is also in the suitable unit and also in the appropriate number of significant figures. But however, there are some candidates that doing rounding off to the intermediate figure that makes the final answer to be slightly deviated. Okay, let's discuss about this. Okay, now I would like to show you one example of a calculation or quantitative questions. Okay, so here we have a questions. In a photoelectric experiment, a metal target of work function 2.14 electrovolt is illuminated by an electromagnetic radiation of wavelength 562 nanometer. So in fraction 1, calculate the threshold frequency of the metal target. Okay, let's see the examples of answer for these questions. Okay, now you can see that this is one of the examples of the working that is usually shown by candidates in examinations. Let's see that this is a very good presentation working where it is formula written clearly and understood. Okay, and also if you look at the answer is stated in the appropriate number of significant figures, and it is also stated in the suitable unit. Okay, now I would like to give you a tips. Okay, if you look at the answer stated here, okay, 5.16 times 10 to the power of 14 hertz, it is stated or written in 3 significant figures. Okay, why it is considered as appropriate number of significant figures? You can see the informations given in the stem or in the questions. Okay, there are 2 information given. One is the work function, which is 2.14 electrovolt, and the other one is wavelength, which is 562 nanometer. If you do notice that both informations are written in 3 significant figures. So there is a tip that I want to share here. Okay, if you see that the information or the figures in the questions given in 3 significant figures, then the appropriate number of the significant figures for your answer should be in 3. Okay, let's see some of the examples of answer for these questions. Okay, so it looks similar, but look carefully. Okay, it is arranged very well, it is organized and systematically presented, but it is also committing with a mistake. Okay, let's see what is the mistake done in this answer. Okay, there is equation written, which is very good. Okay, and there is a substitution shown clearly. Okay, and if you look at the answer, the final answer given, the final answer given, it is written in 5.2 times 10 as 5.2 times 10 to the power of 14 hertz, which is in 2 significant figures, which is less than the number of significant figures given in the question. Okay, so even though the answer is stated in the suitable unit, so this answer is not considered as a good answer presented. Okay. Okay. We see the fraction 2. That means the maximum velocity of the photoelectron. Now, let's look at these examples. Okay. So these solutions, you can see that the working is arranged very well. It's organized perfectly. Okay. So it is a very good presentation working. Okay, where we can see there is a formula written. Okay, there is a very well substitutions, and also the answer is written in the appropriate number of significant figures and also in the suitable units. Okay, okay. But if you look at these answers, okay, if you look at these answers, or it look like well organized, okay, but maybe you overlook it, okay, or maybe you don't realize that there is a figure which is already rounded off in the intermediate steps. Okay, I refer to a figure which is 3.4 times 10 to the power of negative 19. Okay. Now, actually, okay, this figure is calculated or is obtained, okay, from the conversions of the work function from the unit electrovolt into joule, where we need to multiply 2.14 electrovolt and 1.6 times 10 to the power of negative 19 to convert it into the unit of joule. If we perform the calculation, the figure is supposed to be 3.424 times 10 to the power of negative 19. Unfortunately, if you round this figure earlier, if you round off this figure earlier, for example, to 3.4 times 10 to the power of negative 19, your final answer will be deviated from its actual figure. Okay, for example, here, this candidate, they may have 1.75 times 10 to the power of 5 meters second, where it's supposed to be 1.59 times 10 to the power of 5 meters per second. So, absolutely, okay, since the calculated answers here, the calculated final answer here is deviated from its actual figure, so I worry that it won't be accepted. So let's see. Okay, let's see the third friction, friction 3, determine the stopping potential for the photoelectron. Now, please everyone, look at the solution shown here. If you do notice, there is no formula given here, or no formula written here or shown here. Get it? So we are actually not really sure whether this candidate do the correct substitution or not. Okay? So we only can check it by look at the figure one by one. Okay? Unfortunately, if there is a mistake in substituting the informations into these type of solutions, right? So nobody can recognize which formula the candidate used. Okay? As a result, since we do not know whether there is a correct concept shown in these solutions, so we cannot accept the answers shown. Now, okay, as you can see in these examples, there are mistake committed, okay, where the mistake actually is at the figure of 1.6 times 10 power of 5. I believe since this question, fraction 3 question, is the questions after the fraction 2, so means it may use the figure obtained from fraction 2. Okay, I believe that this 1.6 times 10 to the power 5 is already rounded from the answer in fraction 2. It's supposed to be 1.59 times 10 to the power of 5, but this candidate, okay, it's rounding this figure off too early. Okay, and as a result, as you can see, his final answer now is 0.053, which is slightly deviated from the actual answer, which is 0.072. Okay, so I would like to remind you, be careful with all these kind of mistakes. Okay, so no formula written, even there is a wrong substitutions. Okay, even though the answer is given in appropriate number of significant figures and also unit, but since we do not know the concept that you really apply, so we cannot accept your answer.
And I think that's very interesting, as well as very important, that we have to be very meticulous in writing down the formula, as well as how we interpret that formula and putting the figures in. Yeah, Cikgu Hussaini?
Yes, Hanif, yes.
Right, so that's very important, of course, to not round the figures up so quick, but only to round it perhaps only at the final answer.
Yes, exactly.
Right, at the final answer. I think those are very good tips which all of us have to keep in mind when we answer the physics paper 3 questions, and I'm sure you have more questions to ask us. So we're going to take a short break, but continue to stay tuned with us on Sukses STPM 2021 Pecutan on Didik TV KPM.
Didik TV KPM. Didik TV KPM.
Hello my friends, you are back with us on Sukses STPM 2021 Pecutan on Didik TV KPM. So today we are learning the tips and tricks to maximize our score and definitely to score A for physics paper 3. And with me is Cikgu Hussaini. And Cikgu, I believe now we will talk about qualitative questions. How to answer them, how to score them.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, candidates. Okay, now let's look at the qualitative questions, mostly involving the comprehensive type of questions. Okay, but before I go further, let's look at the report on candidates' work, which is done by MPM. Okay, so from the report that you can get it from the MPM portal. The answering many candidates, okay, answering using related physics law and principles, but okay, some candidates not able to describe the formation of maximum and minimum intensities. This is based on the physics 3 paper in 2020. But I would like to emphasize that some students, okay, they have a problem in answering questions which start with describe. And number two, we see that some candidates wrongly describe the production of continuous H3. Okay, and we also can see that some candidates not able to explain the change in the resolving power and also mistakenly state the difference between electromagnetic wave and mechanical wave. So let's look at how we can rectify all the mistakes here. So firstly, let's look at what are the common type of questions in qualitative. We have questions that ask candidate to define the concept, distinguish or differentiate, describe a phenomena or a process, and explaining the concept. So let's look one by one. So here I have examples of questions which start with define. For example here, question A, define the intensity of sound. Question B, state the definition of the intensity of sound. It look like similar, but look carefully that the second questions start with the word state. So let's see what is the difference between question A and also question B. Now, I will show you the examples of answer for question A. Okay. For example, maybe candidates may answer in this way: intensity of sound is defined as the rate of energy received per unit area which is perpendicular to the directions of the sound. Or some candidates, they may write their answer in this way: intensity of sound is defined as I per E per T per A, where I is the intensity of the sound, E per T is the rate of energy received at the point, and A is the area which is perpendicular to the directions of the sound. Now, so the second answer is written based on the definitions, based on the equations of the intensity of sound. Okay, let's see. So, actually, both answers are acceptable when the question start with define the intensity. Okay, so candidates can construct your answers, okay, in both ways. Okay, but let's see what happens if the question start with the word state. State the definition of the intensity of sound, where students may answer this in the same two ways. Okay, in the same ways here. But carefully that for this kind of questions, the second answer, where using the equations of the intensity, is not accepted because it does not meet the requirement of the questions. Remember, the questions ask you to state, so you have to state it. You kena nyatakan, awak kena nyatakan apakah yang dimaksudkan ataupun definisi intensity itu. Okay, okay. So please look carefully. Okay, it look like both questions look like similar, but it has slightly difference. Okay, so remember, if the question start with state, so do not use the equation to write your definitions. Okay, so let's look at the other questions. Okay, differentiate or distinguish. Okay, now I have two questions here. Okay, differentiate between excitation energy and ionization energy. And question B, differentiate between continuous spectrum and characteristic line spectrum of X-rays. Okay, let's see the example of answer that could be written by the candidates. Okay, let's see the first question. Excitation energy is the energy required to excite an atom, while ionization energy is energy required to ionize an atom. Okay, please look. Let's look at another example of answer that the candidate may construct or may give. Ionization's energy is higher. Ionization energy can cause an electron to escape from the atom. Now look carefully. In the first answer, if you do notice that this candidate just repeat the term used in the questions. Excitation energy is the energy required to excite the atom. So he just repeat the words, okay? And while ionization energy is the energy required to ionize the atom. So again, you repeat the words used, okay? So please, candidate, okay, this kind of answer actually is not accepted since it does not reflect your understanding in this topic, okay? Let's look at the second options, or the second type of answers, okay? Ionization's energy is higher. Ionization energy can cause an electron to escape from the atom. Now, look carefully that in this answer, actually, this candidate does not answering the question. It does not meet the requirement of the questions. Okay, this candidate does not, show the difference between the excitation energy and also the ionization energy, but it just elaborate what the excitation energy and the ionization energy are. Okay, as a result, so this kind of answer also is not accepted. Okay, let's look at, maybe we can see another options. Okay, now look at this answer. Excitation energy is the energy required to move up. Instead of he used back the term used in the question, excite. So this candidate change it to another terms or another words, which is move up. An electron from a lower energy level to a higher energy level, while ionization's energy is the energy required by an electron in the lowest energy level to escape completely from the atom. So this is another tip that I would like to share. Please do not repeat the term which is used in the question. Okay, so this is examples of a good answers. Okay, let's look at another options. Continuous spectrum is produced due to the deceleration of energetic electrons while bombarding the target atoms, while characteristics line spectrum is produced due to the transition of electrons in the inner shell. So clearly that we can see there are two difference. There is a difference between continuous spectrum and characteristic line spectrum, and that is why this answer is considered a good answer. Okay. So next, we have a questions that ask students to describe. Okay, I have two questions here, but let's look at the answer for the first question. Okay, now look at these answers. Okay, transition of electron in the hot gas atom cause emission. Various type of electromagnetic waves are released from the hot gas atoms. The grating will diffract different frequency at different angles. Each diffracted frequency will form a number of bright lines on the screen. Now, for your informations, these answers combining about 2 or 3 different process. So actually, it is the candidate does not elaborate the process or describe the process clearly. Okay, so and because of that, okay, this answer actually is not true, or this cannot be accepted. Okay, clearly. So make sure that when we describe, usually describe question is used for describing a process or a phenomenon. Okay, let's look at the mistake that may done by this candidate. Okay, number one, there are two processes that I mentioned just now. One is about the transition of electrons in the hot gas, and number two is the use of grating, which actually is about two different activities. Okay, maybe we can see the examples of a good answers. Okay, see, it starts with to tell that what happened at the beginning when the hot gas atom absorbed the energy during collisions between the atoms because the gas is hot. So what happened next is the energy received by the atoms causes the electrons in lower energy levels to transit to the different and higher energy levels. Okay, in order to achieve more stable state, the excited electrons drop to different lower energy levels. The transition of the electron causes photons of different wavelength to be emitted and produce the line spectrum. So if you look at these answers, so it arrange the point very well, step by steps, and very systematic. Okay, so this can be the examples of a good answer. Right, let's look at the question B. Describe the generation of nuclear energy due to fusion process that occurs in the sun. So let's look at this suggested answer. Nuclear fusion would only occur in the small nuclei have sufficient kinetic energy to overcome the repulsion between two positively charged nuclei. In the sun, the nuclei could have high energy. Therefore, fusions are able to occur. Hence, nuclear energy is produced in the sun. So, guess whether this is a good or not good answer. Now, let's see why this answer is not accepted. Look at the questions carefully. The questions ask the candidates to describe the process. But this answer, this candidate, it is more to reasoning or justifications why the nuclear fusions occur in the suns. So please be careful with the answers that you arrange. So now let's look at the answer that may be considered as a good answer. In the sun, hydrogen atoms have sufficiently high kinetic energy. The hydrogen atoms are able to overcome the repulsive electrostatic force between the two positively charged nuclei and fuse to form helium atoms. So that is a process. During the fusion, some of the mass is converted into the energy. Okay, can you see the difference between the first answer and this answer? Okay, so make sure if you are asked to describe a process, so do not justify it. Okay, just describe it step by step. Okay, so let's look at the last question, which is explain type questions. I have one question here. Explain why, after the light passes through a first Polaroid, the intensity of the light is half of its original value, even though the amplitude of the electric component of light before and after passing through the first Polaroid is the same. So it's quite challenging. So let's see the suggested answer. Now look how we justify why the intensity is half even though the amplitude is unchanged. Before passing through a Polaroid, the intensity of light equals the sum of intensity of all electric field oscillation in various planes. But after passing the Polaroid, only the electric field oscillations that is parallel to the polarization axis of the Polaroid is transmitted. Even though the amplitude is not changed, the intensity of the polarized light reduced to half because it equals to the intensity of single oscillations. So if you do realize that in this answer, they give the justifications on why the intensity is half and not equals to the intensity of the light before it passed through the polaroid. So that is what I would like to share about how candidates could arrange the answer properly according to the questions asked.
Right, I think that's very important. And those keywords, we have to always keep in mind things like state, define, distinguish, differentiate, as well as explain, ya. Kena betul-betul faham kata kunci dalam soalan tersebut untuk menjawab keinginan soalan supaya dapat markah penuh, ya. We're going to take a short break and please stay tuned with us because we have a lot more to explore for Physics Paper 3 on Sukses STPM 2021 Didik TV KPM.
Didik TV KPM. Didik TV KPM.
And we are back learning about Physics Paper 3 on Sukses STPM 2021 Pecutan on Didik TV KPM. And in this round, we will be learning the do's and don'ts when we answer the Physics Paper 3 question. And with me is Cikgu Hussaini. Cikgu, do share with us your do's and don'ts as well as a bit of a conclusion for this paper, for us to score this paper.
Yes, Sunny. Okay, as a conclusion, okay, I would like just to remind you on what we have discussed earlier. Okay, number one, make sure you write the formula for the calculations questions. Okay, when you write your solutions, always begin with the formula so that we know you are on the track. And please do not do early round off to the intermediate figures. Okay, it is good if you can use all the figure that you obtain shown in the calculator. Okay, and then please check the number of significant figures of the information given. Okay, that is quite important so that you know in how many number of significant figures, okay, you have to write your final answer. And lastly, write the final answer in the appropriate number of significant figures, which is related to number 3 just now. Please check it first. Okay, so remember, if the information given in the question is in 3 significant figures, that means your final answer must be written in 3 significant figures. So, last but not least, let's look at the analysis of STPM Physics 3 from 2013 to 2020. As you can see, I simplified it by using a color code so that you can see clearly that question 16 mostly come from the first theme, oscillation and wave, where question 17 it look like it comes from either nuclear physics or quantum physics. It's same to question number 18, 19 and 20. You can see clearly the color code that question 18 usually come from the first theme, which is involving involving oscillations and wave. So it is from chapter 19 to chapter 21. Question 19 is among the second themes, which is about optics. Okay, it involving chapter 22 and 23, while question 20 is for themes nuclear physics and quantum physics. Okay, which is chapter 24 and 25, as you can see. So maybe this can help you to plan your study or your preparations before the examinations. So that is all. Thank you very much.
Right, I fully agree with you, Cikgu Hussaini, because I'm sure those little mistakes could make us lose marks despite that we have already put as much effort as we can in scoring A for Physics Paper 3. So keep in mind, be very meticulous. And with that, we would like to thank Cikgu Muhammad Hussaini Hashim
Ya, sama-sama.
from College Tingkatan 6 Taling Jaya, Selangor. Cikgu, those were very good advice that you have given to our students at home. And I'm sure everyone continue to work hard because we would like to score A for Physics, not just in Paper 3, but in all papers, in the whole subject, for us all to be excellent together. And thank you so much for watching us today. My name is Hashim, and I hope to see you again soon. Assalamualaikum and bye everyone.